I'm driving a brand new $50,000 vehicle for only $99 a month. And it's not just any car, it's this 2024 Chevrolet Equinox EV. And now in today's video, I'm gonna tell you guys what it is like being a gearhead like myself, driving an electric vehicle the last 2 months. We're gonna go through my electric bills, what it's like on a day-to-day basis, the charging infrastructure, and driving it in negative temperatures here in the state of Minnesota without wasting any more of your time.
Let's get into the video. Welcome to Performance on Wheels. My name is Todd. My son Austin and I, we make all sorts of videos on all sorts of different cars. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can join us on our father-son journey. My son Austin and I here at Performance on Wheels, we are all about horsepower, burning rubber, cramming gears, V8, loud noises. That is what we thoroughly enjoy, being the car enthusiast we are. So I have to say, I was completely blown away when I received the text message from my amazing son saying he wanted to trade in his high horsepower, one of the staple vehicles of the automotive industry. He wanted to trade it in for an EV. We just got done reviewing the Silverado EV, new to the market, the greatest and biggest, baddest EV truck. And we were thoroughly disappointed. Got a lot of disappointed comments on the channel because of it. But the fact of the matter, just being transparent, is we have not been massive EV fans. We're not on that bandwagon riding the horse. But anyways, we do appreciate the technology that comes with it. We do appreciate the thrill that comes with all the torque of an EV motor, but we like cramming gears, we like burning rubber, we like V8s. We're still on that train. So Austin, when I went into checking out your new car for the first time, I went in with a negative attitude, and when you took me for my first 30+ mile drive, I have to say I was actually impressed.
Now, I want to talk about the Silverado here for a quick second before we move on to the Equinox.
Okay.
The big reason I had so much negativity wrapped around that vehicle is the competitors, for example, right? The F-150 Lightning. It's a great electric truck. The F-150 Lightning Lariat, one above from the top, is the exact same starting price as the base model Silverado EV that we looked at. The Silverado EV that we looked at had the same interior quality as my $22,000 Ford Maverick XL.
And you know what, Austin, when I got into the Equinox, I was thoroughly impressed with the interior. So the fact that we reviewed that Silverado, it was kind of a shock, to be honest. The
Equinox interior is unbelievably nice. And now don't get this mistaken. The Equinox has been known to be an extremely unreliable, 4-cylinder, now 3-cylinder SUV on the market for a very long time. Yeah. It's been known to be on the smaller side or mid-size of the SUV class. It's been an ugly bubble. It's been out forever. Always known to be a very problematic vehicle. And now they still make one, but now they make an electric one too. It's on a completely different platform, and I think we need to show off just how much bigger this platform is. Let's start that off in the interior.
I just want to point a couple things out here that really stand out to me. Look at this. I'm 6 feet tall. I have long legs, and I am I can't even touch the floor. And when I can't touch the floor, if I go in the back seat of the Equinox EV, it's tight back here. But remember, up front, I can't even touch the floor. So there's actually a good amount of room back here. And when you talk about space, we have this slanted roof. And what is fun in the Equinox EV, there's those cool taillights again. You have the low roof line, you have to remember that. But at the end of the day, you have a good amount of space. As you start looking at some of the details that were added to the interior, you have to give a little high five to our friends over at Chevy because they did a really good job. Some of the key points that stand out to me are the ambient lighting, the way that it looks, the different colors that you can choose that is not only on the dashboard, but also the door panels. Another thing that I really like is kind of the fade in color on the door panels around the door handle, from kind of a maroon red to gray. And then when you talk about the seats, it's like the mic drop because you have the red, white, and blue going on. You have the red pin striping to let you know that you're in something aggressive. RS is embroidered into that headrest, and you kind of have that fade of black versus red on the back of the seats. A lot of cool texture changes, a lot of cool material changes. It keeps things interesting, and that even includes the vents. The air vents, they're designed well, they function well. There's a lot of fun things to keep your eyes guessing and looking around inside the Equinox EV.
And when we hop behind the driver's seat, this thing really does feel like a fun, sporty car. And that starts with the flat bottom, thickly bolstered, red stitched leather steering wheel. The steering wheel is really, really nice feeling in the hands. It's heated. We have heated seats as well. Such a nice feeling spot to be. It actually feels like a really sporty vehicle when you're sitting behind the wheel of this thing. And then we need to talk about the tech. Now, I've always said that Tesla has the best tech in the game. Some people love Tesla's tech, some people hate Tesla's tech. A big reason that people say that they hate it is it doesn't include Android Auto and it doesn't include Apple CarPlay. And that applies here on the Chevy as well. Chevy decided that on all of their EV products, they were not going to allow their customers to have this because they claimed it was too distracting for them to use on the road. However, on their gas-powered variants, you can still get Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I think Chevy's game plan here is, well, when I talk to OnStar after setting this thing up, I have to pay a subscription service to use my Google Maps and Google Infotainment system after I believe it was 5 years. So there was 5 years included with the purchase of the vehicle, but after 5 years, I believe it was $15 a month, or you can pay a yearly subscription to use your navigation system inside of Chevy's electric vehicles. So that tells me right there that their values are going to absolutely plummet, like absolutely sink themselves into the ground when they become on the used market. However, I cannot dismiss the fact that with the subscription currently included with this car, it's extremely good. This Google system is fantastic. It's very, very fast. There's a lot of different options that you can choose to put up on the screen directly in front of you. This massive screen to your right, I'm not gonna lie, it can be distracting at times. It's so big. However, it does everything so well. It's never glitched, it's never lagged. It's had one over-the-air update since I've had it, and it was done by the time I got into the car the next morning. It just works so well. It's a really big Android tablet just put right on top of my dash that works flawlessly. It's running on the newest version of Android. It gets over-the-air updates constantly. Google is going to continue adding apps to the App Store that fit the aspect ratio of this screen so you can continue to use more apps over time. This thing's amazing. I love the way that it works. The Google system is fantastic. It is the best system that I have used on a new vehicle to date. Now that we're all done with the interior, let's talk about the outside really quick before I start telling you my experiences on owning this vehicle on a day-to-day basis. And we're gonna start with the wheels. Can we just appreciate how great looking these wheels are? This thing features 275s on all four corners, which is a decently wide tire. For an example, my first generation Cadillac CTS V, my rear wheel drive, 6-speed manual Corvette powered beast, it had 275s on the back of it that I put on. They weren't even that wide from the factory. So the fact that this Equinox EV has that on all four corners, that's a really wide tire. And then that 275 is wrapped around a 21-inch wheel on all four corners. And it's super impressive that this thing is rated to be the cheapest 300+ mile EV on the market with a 275 on it. That's really impressive to me.
Yeah, Austin, and I think because you brought up the tires, it's only appropriate to start talking about the exterior of the Equinox EV from the backside. So that's one of the big differences between the gas and EV powered is kind of the body profile when you look at the rear end, right?
Yeah.
And I was actually commenting prior to us making this video on the stance of the Equinox because you can see the tires got a little meat to them. So it actually looks like there's a little substance there, which it does add to the profile. It adds to the appeal of a car when you take like the width of the tire into the design of it, which Chevy did a good job.
Yeah, I really do thoroughly enjoy the way the back end of this vehicle looks. I actually hated it at first, but it's very much so grown on me since. I love the kind of slanted look coming to the aggressive rear end. Those little mud flaps make the tires look even more pronounced. The entire back of this thing just looks straight up aggressive, and quite honestly, it looks aggressive at every angle. However, we need to be real here. Behind all of those looks, there's not a whole lot of grunts. The Equinox EV, even in 2RS form or even in all-wheel drive form, it's still slower than a base model Tesla Model Y.
Yeah, you young kids, you're always talking about performance, and I'm still caught up on the looks. And I'm gonna talk to you about the taillights, because the taillights, I think they are a really cool design. Like the fact that they're segmented, they look sporty, they look cool, they look hip. It doesn't look like some asteroid driving down the street or something that's trying to be so beyond futuristic that it looks like out of ordinary on the road. It looks like a car that is just designed well, that has just good character to it. I really appreciate the rear end of the Equinox that continues with the side profile. I like the fact that in your trim that you got here, that you have the black roof package. I think
$500 option, yeah.
And heck yeah, it looks great too. It like brings the whole center of gravity down a little bit, giving it a sporty feel, sporty look. And when you come to the front, this is my like beef, and like there's either the love-hate relationship. One thing I will say before you just got to hang on for my love-hate here, right?
Hanging on.
Can you hang on?
Hanging on.
Is the whole like the piano black, the gloss black, like diamond plated grille. It's fun that it's a design cue that's on the back of the car, but it's also on the front. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I hate it. I don't know what to think about it. But if you transition up from there, you have like the fake carbon fiber going on.
Yeah.
And then you get to the love-hate thing, what I have to talk about, which like every EV seems to have, and that is Mr. Unibrow.
Quite honestly, I don't agree with my dad. I love the front end of the Equinox EV. I think it is a great looking vehicle. I like the fact that it's not just this flat piano black piece and they did throw a little design into it. Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I also think it looks kind of cool, and it adds a little bit of element to ultimately a pretty cheap SUV in all reality when it comes to the powertrain this thing's sitting on. The fake carbon fiber is not trying to look like it's real by any means, but I just think it's a great looking vehicle. As you walk up to it, the door handles automatically opening upon your arrival as long as the key is inside of your pocket, which really just adds to like the luxury or the elegance. Like it actually feels like a really high-end car walking up to this thing. And the other thing that makes it feel high-end is there's not any exposed plastic. Every single exterior panel on this thing is painted. We have gloss black painted mirrors, gloss black painted around our fender wells, gloss black on the bottom half of the door here with this kind of black chrome running through the middle. Like this is such a well-designed car from an aesthetic standpoint. Like I genuinely find this car beautiful. If you check out this photo here, this is the original like launch or release photo for the Equinox EV. It was in this cool dark cherry red, and it was next to the Blazer EV in all these shots. And I was kind of like meh about the Blazer EV, but the Equinox EV, my goodness, I thought this was beautiful in the launch photos. Then we went to the auto show and saw it in person for the first time. They had this beautiful black Equinox EV. Out of all the vehicles there, I was like, I actually really like the way this one looks. And lo and behold, I now own one. I want to talk about one more thing before we end everything on design here, and that would be comparing this to the Blazer. Now check out some of these shots here when aesthetically comparing it to the Blazer. You can also see some of the size differences between these two. This is actually my coworker's Blazer. He pulled the trigger on one. Only about $40 a month more is the lease payment on his versus the lease payment on mine. So they're a little bit more money because they're a little bit bigger. They also have a little bit more power than the Equinox, but ultimately a very similar interior other than some of these like red accents on the vents. So these are very similar cars. Putting these next to each other, I like the way that the Equinox looks more. I think it's a more handsome, a more beautiful SUV next to the Blazer. I think the Blazer just gets too big looking at it next to the Equinox, but it's your decision. Let me know down in the comments below which one you like more, the Blazer or the Equinox.
Austin, we need to talk about charging, obviously, right? Because if it's your first EV purchase, it's kind of a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
And we were out on this kind of miserable, cold, rainy, cloudy day, and here we were, like, I had nothing better to do, so let's get the full experience of owning an EV. Let's go charge this sucker.
Yeah, so we started the charging process by using the built-in Google system. Actually, just one quick second, check out how cool the system is and check out some of the commands I can quick tell it to do. Hey Google, set my temperature to max.
Got it. Changing the temperature for the driver to the highest setting.
Hey Google, change the temperature to 75 degrees.
Got it. Changing the temperature to 75 degrees.
Hey Google, turn on my passenger heated seat.
Sure. Turning on the seat heater for the front passenger.
So on top of all of that stuff, I can even like ask it, where's the nearest charger? Where should I navigate to? Whatever, stuff like that, right? It's Google. It can do all types of cool stuff and it's super fast, it's super responsive. I talked about that earlier, but just so you know, it intertwines very nicely Google Maps with chargers. So it did exactly what it said. It brought us to the nearest fast charger, right? So what it ultimately did is brought us to this Ford dealership in like Maple Grove, Minnesota, something like that, right? So we pull into this Ford dealership and it kind of ends my navigation there, okay? So I didn't know where to go. I just kind of pulled in and I saw some chargers off to the left. So I pulled up to this charger, to which I had to download the Blink charging app. These were Blink chargers in specific. To which, after I downloaded the Blink charger app, I found out that I cannot simply just pay at the charger like you can pay at a pump at a gas station. I had to automatically put at least $20 into my Blink charge account. Now, just so you guys are aware, there are so many different charging companies out there, and apparently you have to download an app for like every single one. Some of them work great, some of them are miserable. Sometimes you pull up to a group of 10 and 8 out of the 10 don't work. I've heard that this is just, I've heard horror stories about this, okay? Yeah. But to continue on with my Blink experience, we plug the vehicle in and
hop back in and you look at me all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, Dad, I'm charging my car. Yep. We're gonna have a full charge in about 47 hours.
It was not fast at all. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but we found out after I did some more research, after I spent about probably 15 to 20 minutes screwing around on my Chevrolet app trying to figure out how in the world the charging system for this thing works. It was like, this is supposed to be a DC fast charger, and just so you guys are aware, there's level 2 chargers out there, and then there's DC fast chargers out there. Turned out the one I plugged into was a level 2 charger because I was unfamiliar with what they looked like. The level 2 chargers are like usually kind of tall, narrow, they can be small. They're the ones that you get for your garage. A DC fast charger looks like, I don't know, a transformer. Like the thing's huge, just this massive box. So I ended up finding out I'm at a level 2 charger. So after figuring out my Chevrolet app, unplugging my Blink charger, and then going over to this DC fast charger, which by the way, if you're petite, if you're not very strong, if you're on the smaller side of things, this thing sucks to move around. This is this massive, like you need 2 hands to use it cord. You got to take both hands. There's like a very large amount of weight behind it because it's even held with this additional string that has tension on it. So like using all my muscle, I managed to pull it around the car and kind of turn it, because it even takes muscle. If you're not going like straight at the car, you got to like turn the thing to get it to go in straight. Super annoying.
And because this was our first experience, maybe it'll be someone else's that's watching first experience. We're at a Ford dealership, we're in a Chevy, we're next to a Kia, we're next to a Ford. There's like a family next to us, there's a guy reading a book. Like this is the new lifestyle. You're just hanging out like in a parking lot charging your car. This is the thing.
Yeah, definitely an interesting experience. So I finally get the vehicle plugged in. I don't remember the percentages that it was at. I of course have some B-roll that I'm showing now, but ultimately we went and had ourselves a little sandwich because we were kind of hungry. It was a terrible sandwich. We walked across the street, we came back. It probably took us 45 minutes, and in that time frame, I think we got like 30%, something like that. If you were to take this vehicle to your standard DC fast charger, you need to find one where the conditions are all absolutely flawless. Yes, Chevy claims you can get 100 miles, 10 minutes, whatever the heck they claim. You need to be put into reality at the fact if you go plug this thing into a DC fast charger, it's approximately going to take you an hour to an hour and 20 minutes to charge from 0. You are going to be sitting there for some time, and there's no getting around it. What I suggest in what I did is I put a 240 volt outlet inside of my garage. I used the level 2 charger that came with my Equinox EV, and I could fully charge this vehicle from 0. I got it down really low the other day just so I could see what it did.
Okay.
And when you get it down there, it starts beeping at you every now and then. It tells you you need to charge your car. It's a lot more in your face than low fuel.
Okay.
It lets you know that your battery is getting low. It starts changing colors. But ultimately I think I ended up having under 10%, charging it from, I think it was like 6 p.m. It ended up being fully charged at 5 a.m. from 0. So just to put it into perspective, I'm charging at about 23 miles per hour at my level 2 home charger. This is unrealistic to drive on a road trip. It is completely unrealistic. The EV life is not for me if I were to ever leave the range of getting to my home and back. It's just, it's miserable in my experience. I've heard that the Tesla superchargers are better, but even in my case, I couldn't do it. And now we need to talk about how I'm paying $99 a month for this car. It's starting to become popular. If it's not at your local dealer, don't freak out. Don't think that I'm lying to you guys. A lot of it has to do with zip codes and rebates based on the manufacturer, but there is a lot of Chevy dealers that it's starting to pop up at a $199 a month monthly payment on this vehicle with $2,500 down. So that's a pretty low payment. And I work at a dealership myself, and the dealership is currently paying all employees that purchase or lease an EV vehicle through them, they're paying $100 a month of their monthly payment, meaning that this vehicle costs me $99 a month right now. So no, this is not available to everybody. However, even with the deal that I'm getting, a $199 a month lease, it's just not, it's not a thing. Like, that is beyond cheap. So it's not just the fact that I'm getting this for $99 a month, it's the fact that you can get this for $199 a month with $2,500 down. Under the hood of the Equinox EV, we will find that it is unfortunately not powered by a Corvette. I actually still do have the coolest C5 Corvette in the world. It was a really, really fun series that we had on the channel of building that vehicle and what it is today. Check it out up in the corner. And I still have that car, it's just in storage. But there is no frunk on the Equinox EV, there is just this, 288 horsepower, 333 pound-feet of torque. That is slightly higher because this is the all-wheel drive model. You decrease a little bit in the front-wheel drive. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of power for a near 5,000 pound vehicle, does it, Dad?
It certainly doesn't. And this is just so weird that you pop the hood and there's this, like, I don't know, big old battery pack in here. And like even some of the cross bracing and stuff, it's unique. But this is the future. This is what's here to stay. I love the fact that there is the option to have the EV. I think it's awesome that it is on the marketplace. I think there's a spot for it, obviously. And I also love the fact that we can go cram gears in a V8. God bless America. Thank you so much for tuning into the video today on Performance on Wheels as we checked out the Equinox EV.